We're happy to have you here, and we hope that by combining our two communities, we will introduce numerous voters to those who wish to represent them, while at the same time keeping in mind the time. Of course, the primary election is March 1st, and early voting starts on Valentine's Day. So why don't we go ahead and just have the uncontested candidates come up now, just say hello and what they're running for.
Hi, my name is Kristen Johnson, and I am running to be representative for the Texas State Legislature for District 15.
Good morning, everyone. My name is April Prim, and I am running for Justice of the Peace for Precinct 3 in Montgomery County.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for having us here. I am Judge Charlene Valdez, and I'm running for CCL 6. It's the County Court at Law number 6. That's the new court in town. That is both the juvenile and the civil docket, and I'm uncontested in both the primary and the general election. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Miller. I'm your current district clerk, and I'm running for re-election, and I would like your support and your vote for this upcoming primary. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We also have Tammy McGray here, who's not running in this election. She'll run in 2 years, but you write checks to her. She's our tax assessor collector, and we're always happy to see Tammy and her smiling face. We had some other uncontested candidates who had planned to be here: Robin Fulford, Misty Bishop, and Michelle Palmer, but they were not able to come. So that's why they're not up here. My husband asked me to point out that he's the timekeeper. He will be sitting right in the front row. So candidates, as you come up, look to him as you're talking, because he has these little cards, and so he'll let you know as your time's running out. We're going to use a different order than usual when calling candidates up to the stage. Usually the races are called in the order they appear on the ballot, which is sometimes unfair to those at the bottom because people leave before their race is called. Today I've put pieces of paper in a hat. Each piece has the name of a race on it. And I thought I was going to have Mike draw the names, but he's in the back. One at a time, we'll identify the race. If the candidates would come up, bring their name tags, sit in the order that they appear on the ballot. And hopefully you've all gotten a sheet that lists the races and the people. If you don't, they're out in front. So you'll know who's addressing you, and you can make little notes on it if that's a no or that's a yes or whatever. These candidates who will address you will be allowed 90 seconds each for each of the following: an opening statement, answers to 2 questions, and then a closing statement. So that's a total of 6 minutes per candidate, which isn't much, but as I said, we have so many and we didn't want to keep you forever. So this is my husband's USA hat, very patriotic. And I would ask Mike to draw a race. County Judge, candidates, please. Unfortunately, I got a call from Mark Keogh, our current county judge, this morning at 6, and he has COVID. So Jason Millsaps, his chief of staff, and a really long title as well that we always see in the paper, is speaking on his behalf. So we will rotate as we go through the candidates, starting with Sarah. So the first thing is, what experience do you have that qualifies you to be our county judge? And you will have 90 seconds.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and meet you today. And I hope that you learned something new about me. My name is Sarah Countryman. I have been 18 years in the high-tech industry and sales. I've also been a very successful 2-term mayor of the city of Montgomery. My term ends in May. I have brought so much new ideas and way to do business to the city of Montgomery. And I'm seeing that the county has a lot of opportunity to meet some challenges and have some new ways and opportunities to operate. I'm a conservative Christian, and I am asking for your vote. In the city of Montgomery, I've been through 4 different budget cycles. We work from zero-based budget up, so that we can ensure that our money is well spent, as well as cut where we possibly can cut, and we go out for bids to ensure we are getting the best price possible. Montgomery is growing. Montgomery County is growing at an exponential rate. We need to ensure that there is leadership in place that understands budgets and public policy, that does not spend frivolously. Currently, our county judge did not distribute CARES Act dollars. Well, there's 12 counties in the state that receive CARES Act dollars. We're the only county that didn't distribute it properly, and this needs to change.
Okay, thank you. And all candidates, if you don't have 90 seconds worth of things to say, don't feel like you have to keep talking. And I'm not directing that to you. I'm just saying, because since we are under such a time crunch. Okay, Jason.
Good morning. My name is Jason Millsaps. As Diane mentioned, I am the county judge's chief of staff. I also serve as the executive director of our Homeland Security and Emergency Management Office, as appointed by the judge to that position. I've had the pleasure of working with Judge Keough for 8 years as his chief of staff. I was with him 4 years in the Texas legislature when he served you there. And I've been with him for the last 3.5 years here at the county level. I am a resident of the county, so I'm very familiar with our county, and it's great to be with you guys this morning. Judge Keough is running for re-election based on the promises made, promises kept model. When he ran in 2018, he came out with a contract with the county, had a number of points in it that he wanted to address as the judge and in commissioner's court. One of those was, as your appraisals go up in your home, the value goes up, your tax rate will go down. All 3 years we've had a budget since he's been judge. We've adopted the no new revenue rate or a rate below the no new revenue rate. It's the first time in the county history that's happened. And the county taxes, as a result, has on the average for the median household, you've seen a tax cut. And those of us above the median average has seen taxes decrease comparative to our appraisal. Also, we've had a number of successes in the form of transportation infrastructure, where we had a countywide mobility plan that was started in late 2019. And we just finished it this year. That is going to be implemented. That's going to help us as we grow with this unprecedented growth. And a number of issues that the judge has accomplished in his time. One of them was cutting his salary as he promised and capping it where it has stayed the same since that time.
Thank you, Jason. Billy?
My name is Billy Graff. I'm running for county judge because I believe that you need to be served in a way that you're not being served now. I have personal experience how often we are unable to connect to our county officials. We can call, we leave messages, we send letters, and we get no response. I don't believe that's the way our county leaders should treat you, the voters. We have some real issues with flood mitigation. We need to make some changes in how we identify the needs. Our road construction, we have massive amounts of infrastructure that's about to take place. We need to look at some new and inventive ways. I don't want to use a creative because you may take the way what that means differently, but we need a different way of looking at how we do construction here. We need to identify issues and take a real look at the long-term effects of the new subdivisions in reflection to the old subdivisions. We're allowing many developers to do things that are causing major flood problems for the older subdivisions. And so I would like to lead in that activity. Also, I think it's very important that we allow each other to speak to one another with new ideas. I want to engage you, the voters, and I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your thoughts. As we grow in this community, I need you to be part of the process and be part of the fix. And I'm the only candidate that will allow you the privilege and the opportunity to work with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Jason, what does Judge Keough plan? Does he plan to make any changes in the office if he is reelected?
Well, I think you continue where we've started off. I mean, cutting the salary, capping it, working with developing an infrastructure plan, working with the Commissioners Court to bring transparency and how we've put backup on our court documents so you can read what's going on in Commissioners Court. Continuing to push forward. We're not out of this pandemic yet. That's taken up a lot of our time in the judge's office because he also heads emergency management. And he set us on level playing ground with the economy by not taking draconian measures throughout this whole process. You know, we did close for 2 weeks, March 27th, April the 13th in 2020, when back then everybody was panicking. I had friends come and tell me they were washing their groceries with bleach and everybody was staying home from work. We took that 2 weeks to bend the curve and the numbers were not adding up. So the judge reopened us. And since then, from April 13th of 2020 to now, the county has been growing at an unprecedented rate. The city of Conroe once told us that their tax growth, sales tax growth was up 26% in 2019 in 2020 over 2019. And they attributed that because we did not have draconian measures in place and people were traveling here to shop and spend their money and enjoy their time with their family. And as a result of that, I think we just continue pushing forward. The judge has really a lot of things that can be done going forward as we grow. The county's seen 30% population growth from 2010 to 2020, and that countywide mobility plan is going to come in handy as we start developing new infrastructure projects going forward.
Thank you. Billy?
I know we continue to hear the same words of there were no draconian activities taking place, but ladies and gentlemen, if you read Article 2, Section 1 of this Texas Constitution, I believe you'll realize that no county judge actually has the legal right to shut us down. And we were shut down for 2 weeks. And not only were we shut down for 2 weeks, even when they did see that the numbers weren't going, they did an extension for 2 more weeks. We never hear anybody talk about the extension for 2 weeks. Now, I don't know about you, but there are still businesses that are no longer in business because of that. Governor Abbott did the same thing. Now, not everyone agrees that that was a bad thing, but I agree that in premise, if the Constitution means nothing to us, then let's not use it anymore. We're seeing that in the state of Texas. We're seeing that across the country. Conservatives are screaming and yelling for constitutionality in all aspects of our life. I don't think we need to have any leaders in our county, in our state, or in our country that look down on or pick and choose which constitutional laws are we going to stand by. Sometimes we have to stand firm, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's not popular, because that's what good leaders do. I will stand before you and I'll tell you, I will never go against our Constitution, even if it's more profitable to me as an elected official, because you matter more than I do. We've shut down, we've lost jobs. We went up in our unemployment rate of 257%. That was draconian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sarah?
Okay, I just make sure the timer is going. All right, great. Transparency and accountability is the platform I'm running on. Currently, if you go to any of the Commissioners Court, you'll see the transparency and accountability is not on display. Taxpayers comes first. The taxpayers invest here, work here, live here, shop here, and invest in the county. It is the taxpayer that is the rock star. The county judge and the commissioners are here to ensure that your budget, the dollars in the budget is balanced to serve you. It seems to me, when I watch Commissioners Court and attend, the budget serves the county judge in the way that he wants to spend. There are taxpayer dollars being spent on a $500,000 medical tent that was only been used once. $7.1 million of the taxpayer rental assistance went back to the state because the county judge said, quite frankly, we just don't have that problem here. $7.1 million. I have made this public, even more public, and I have had more calls and emails about this from renters who were pushed out of their houses because the county was shut down and they couldn't go to work. They lost income and subsequently lost their homes. That right there is not he's not being accountable to the taxpayer. Montgomery County is in high growth. We need to ensure that we spend money wisely on the behalf of the taxpayer, not our special interest.
Thank you. Okay, second question. And we start with Billy. Would you have changed the COVID protocol for county employees, businesses, and residents?
Well, I'll just extend what I was talking about before. I do understand that health protocols matter, and I think we should pay close attention to the science, but we also need to have some common sense in our science. I believe that when we look at the lives of people matter. And sometimes we get caught up in the emotion, we get caught up in politically correctness. And I don't believe that that's a positive for any administration. I don't believe we should be shutting things down. You know, it was really nice, and I think it was a wonderful thing that all the county employees were able to maintain their paychecks. I would have supported that. But at the same time, I have friends and family that lost their jobs, that were unable to make payments on their house notes. Why? Because this county judge found it more important to follow what other guys have done because it was politically correct. Nowhere should we ever govern trying to be politically correct. We need to be strong leaders doing what's best for our people. As your county judge, I will always do what's best for you, the voter, not what's good for me. We are here to serve. The county has lost its identity. The county is supposed to be serving you, the voter, and that's what Billy Graff will do as your county judge.
Thank you. Sarah?
I touched on this and I'll touch on it again. The county should not have been shut down. We are all adults. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. You want to get vaccinated? Get vaccinated. If you would like to go to the grocery store and they implemented a 6-foot rule, follow the rules. 10-foot rule, follow the rules. But we shouldn't be told that we need to stay home and have a curfew at 11:59 p.m. It has been stated in a previous debate that there are winners and losers, and that good people would already be home by 11:59. I personally had friends and family in the hospital. If I wanted to stay with them and I got home at 12:30, does that make me a bad person? Absolutely not. And that's what this county judge has stated. Transparency, leadership. Leadership is not only making decisions on the information that you have, it's also making decisions on the information you don't have. Looking at it from a holistic 360-degree view and not just in a box, and self-serving. If you remember, the current county judge is also a preacher. He has 2 jobs, and his church was burglarized. And then right after that, the county was shut down. If I were to have gone to the grocery store or to the hospital and my home was burglarized, I wouldn't have shut down the county based on a personal issue and a personal experience. The county was shut down and it was wrong.
Thank you. Okay, Jason, for you, do you wish that you had responded to the COVID crisis in a different way?
March 26, 2020, the hospital doctors, the health authority, the public health district approached the judge and myself and told us that if we didn't take action, 100,000 people were going to get COVID and 1,000 people were going to die from COVID within 1 month and by the end of April of 2020. The next morning, he signed the 2-week stay-at-home order and it was in place. It did get extended, as Billy said, but it was canceled 3 days after it was extended. It was in place a total of 17 days. So 2 weeks and 3 days. On top of that, to talk about this, the curfew that was instituted, the curfew eliminated the possibility of being caught and captured by curfew for being out because of medical purposes or because of work. It had a number of exemptions in there for that. The reason why the curfew was put in place in this county is because Harris County and surrounding counties that had closed long before us were emptying their jails of prisoners because they didn't want them in the jail because of COVID. And those folks, as we know here, we see a lot of crime in this county from Harris County residents. We wanted a curfew to give the tools to law enforcement to be able to address the issue of people being out that late when everybody's at home because everybody's closed. talk about the hospital tents. We spent $575,000 on 5 hospital tents. They were instituted for a total of 6 months, put them in place for 6 months at St. Luke's Hospital, saving thousands of lives with these tents because ambulances were stuck there for hours at a time and couldn't leave the hospital to go back out and take another patient because they couldn't put them in the hospital. The tents were put in place. This county responded to the pandemic well. We continue to respond to the pandemic well, and we'll continue doing it going forward.
Okay, now each candidate will make a closing statement, starting with Mr. Graff.
I want to just take a second and say how grateful I am to live in this county. I want you to know that I'm running because I believe that we need some positive motivation in our county. We fight, we argue, we get very little done at times. We have Commissioner Court that continues to spend money, whether it's on the budget, not on the budget. We have a county judge that thinks it's a great idea to spend money on different items for other entities that already are pulling their own weight as tax units. Even, I don't care if we may have pulled it off the agenda, but the request was still there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go look at the agendas because it still shows what those contexts are and what those conversations were. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to just bring to you a different type of leadership, a servant leadership by heart. As a nonprofit who runs millions and millions of dollars of assets and gives it all away, we go into disaster zones and we rebuild homes for families that are underserved. I understand what it means to go into a county environment because I work with counties all around the state of Texas. They call me and ask me for help. I help consult and tell people how to do emergency management. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm ready to start tomorrow at building back the things that we need to build here. And I'm asking you to trust me to build trust back in the county area. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
As the second term mayor of the city of Montgomery, in a long list of achievements that I'm very proud of, the mayor position is very similar to the county judge position. No, nobody goes to jail. However, it is budgets, it is public policy, and it's the ambassador for the county. And I too, watching at the county level, watching what's going on, Commissioner's Court and the consent agenda, there's a lot of hidden agendas in there. I encourage you to go look, and no, there is not supporting document. Transparency and accountability is missing. I have brought that to the city of Montgomery. I'm very available. Call me, email me. I get emails all the time from folks in the county because they're not getting responses from the county judge. And they come to me thinking that I am in the same office as him and wanting help. And I help them all and I ensure that I hold their hand until they get resolved. I'm asking for your vote because I'm watching this county and what we're doing with hidden dollars, plugging in COVID dollars, not giving them to the cities and municipalities that the federal government said to give them to, and plugging our budget with them. It's very difficult to watch unethical behavior and poor behavior happen, and we can only go up from here. I took over a city when I was first elected that the budget was chaotic. And through 4 budget cycles, we have a balanced budget. My second year, we finally had a savings account. We are very fiscally responsible, and I want the same for this county. I love this place, and I know you do too. I'm asking for your vote.
Oh, Diane, I get one. I get closing. It's okay. No worries. No worries. So, got a lot to put into 90 seconds. So Montgomery County's budget is always balanced. We're required by statute to have a balanced budget. The budget has not grown in the time period that we've had office. Judge Keogh's been in since 2019 because of the no new revenue rate. We've taken in no new revenue during that time other than new growth. The budget has not had a hole in it. We lost no revenue as a result of COVID. Our revenue went up year over year with COVID. So there was no need to plug the budget with COVID, CARES funds, things like that. The CARES Act, as written by the U.S. Treasury and passed by Congress, does not require a recipient, which is the county, to pass funds on at any level to any subrecipient junior jurisdiction, which would be a city or another taxing entity. It's not required. It's allowed if we choose to. However, if we choose to do so, we have to monitor for compliance because the county, not the entity that received the money, is responsible for those funds. Montgomery County's Commissioners Court chose to give money to jurisdictions on a reimbursement basis. If you spent money for COVID and you had receipts, we'd reimburse you. Montgomery County did that for every jurisdiction that applied. Not one person was turned down with their receipts other than for some taxes and things like that. That wasn't an eligible expense. The budget in this county has never been better. We're AAA credit rating 3 years in a row under this judge. It was AAA credit rating before. We just had a new AAA credit rating issued in October of last year. And to paraphrase Moody's Investor Service, despite the pandemic, Montgomery County's budget and fiscal responsibility has never been stronger.
Okay, now, thank you all. We appreciate it. Next up, Justice Ninth Court of Appeals. 2 candidates. First, we have Stephanie Hall and then Jay Wright. How long have you practiced law? And what types have you practiced? Are you board certified in any areas?
Well, good morning. I just want to thank everyone for coming out because the weather has changed, has it not? And I also want to thank for everybody and their hard work for putting this on. As far as my background, I've had 29 years of practicing law here in Texas. I have practiced all areas of law you could conceive of. I have done everything from complex litigation to some easier cases, but I've done probate, guardianship, every type of civil, including wrongful death. And I've done criminal cases as well as appeals in all areas of civil and some civil that have the criminal aspect to them too. So I think I'm well qualified to do this. I just want to say that the one area of law that I've really practiced a lot in the last 20 years has been CPS law. And I will say this, I believe that it's the most complex law ever. It changes all the time. There are policy considerations. There are tons of people that are on this case. It is very, very difficult and complex law. I think I'm well qualified to serve on the Court of Appeals. I believe that one of the aspects of sitting on this bench is judicial temperament. And I believe that judicial temperament is the one thing that we all need to consider. In judicial temperament, that means that we don't legislate from the bench. I would never do that. There are laws of canons of construction that we need to follow and precedent we need to follow. And we do not need to legislate from the bench, unlike my opponent, who in his website indicates that that's what he would do.
Okay. Thank you. If you look at what you were handed when you came in, the responsibilities of the various office holders are on the back. So if you don't know what the Court of Criminal Appeals justices do, this will tell you. Jay?
Thank you, Diane. And thank you, Diane and Windsor Lakes and Windsor Hills for putting this on. And for all of those here today, thank you for coming and any of those viewing. My name is Jay Wright, and I am running for place 2 on the Ninth Court of Appeals, which considers appeals of all trials that took place from Montgomery County all the way to the Louisiana border in those 10 counties in the county or district courts. I've practiced law for 36 years. I started the first 7 years working for the county attorney's office in Corpus Christi, where I started out criminal prosecuting. And after a couple of years, my boss appointed me chief of the criminal division. And I did that for about 2.5 years and was about to leave. And he said, no, the civil chief is leaving. So for the next 2.5 years, I was the civil section chief. So I did both criminal prosecution and then I did civil law, defending the county from lawsuits, advising the county department heads in the commissioner's court, things like that. After I ran as a Republican in Corpus Christi and came in second in 1992, I went into private practice, and I've been doing both civil and criminal law, including probate, including guardianship, including CPS work, civil trials. The last jury trial I had a couple of months ago was a construction dispute. The plaintiff's lawyer asked for $1 million in voir dire, and the jury gave them 0. We won for our client. I've done all the kind of cases that go in front of the Ninth Court of Appeals, and I'm ready to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Second, or first question, actually, why did you decide to run for this position? And that goes to you first, Jay.
Oh, okay. So it's back to me. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
we're
get to-
gonna flop back
Okay.
and forth.
I get to pick up where I left off. So what has happened in our country? Okay. It's in our country and it's even happening in Texas since I became a lawyer in 1985. Our country has been drifting and drifting to the left. And the way they've been doing that is they have been reinterpreting the Constitution. You know, whoever thought that they would have told us that we could not go to our own church, that we could not go to our own place of employment and think that that would be constitutional? And how long, thank goodness, President Trump added the justices to the Supreme Court, and we finally, it took a year or more, we finally started getting some rulings from the ultimate court, the Supreme Court, clarifying the constitutional issues in this case. But these lower courts, I'm shocked that they didn't step in initially and say, you can't stop somebody from going to church. You can't stop somebody from going to work. We even have a right to work law here in Texas and in many states. And that recognition of those constitutional rights from the get-go needs to be done by all courts, hopefully by the trial courts, but definitely by the courts of appeals. And I think that my philosophy, it's a judicial philosophy, is called originalism. And it's actually was pronounced and developed by Justice Scalia on the US Supreme Court, and is carried on by Justice Clarence Thomas. We need to look at the original intent of our founders when they wrote that Constitution and follow what they said. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie, same question.
Yes. The reason that I'm running for this office, actually, if you want to get one of my push cards, it actually says what they are. I prayed about this for a week when I found out that Justice Krager was retiring early from the bench. I would never want to run against an incumbent on that bench because this court, the Ninth Court of Appeals, is the most conservative court that there is. They very rarely are overruled, and they do follow the tenets of what they're supposed to follow in interpreting and upholding the law. But when I found out that he was retiring, I prayed about it. And the three things that are on my push card is really what I came up with. I have a passion for the law, and the passion for the law is built upon the fact that we have our laws built on Judeo-Christian principles. How exciting it is to practice law, and then to also, if I were to be elected judge, to uphold those laws because it's built on God's principles. And I also am just relentlessly pursuing the truth. I've always done, there's always a reason, there's always a law out there that you can find that will uphold this law. And it takes a lot of hard work, but that can happen. But mostly the reason that I wanted to run was I just wanted to step forward. As a Christian, I think it's very important in these times now for Christians to stand up and to actually run for office. And so I prayed about that. I had a deep faith in Christ. I always have.
Thank you. So Stephanie, what changes will you make in the way this court is run if you are elected?
Well, I think I kind of alluded to that a little bit. I don't really think that there are any changes to be made. As a judge, my job is to uphold the law, and it's also to interpret the law. When I interpret the law, I look at precedent and case law. When I look at statutes to interpret, I look at canons of construction. To do other things would be wrong. If I took my personal beliefs and what I think should be done, that would be wrong for me to do. I can say that, you know, I have certain beliefs because I have a belief, a deep faith in Christ. But I do also have to do my job. And part of doing my job is that. I can promise you that the one thing that I have always done for 29 years of practice is that I have prayed for all of my clients in all of my cases. I can tell you that I would continue to do that. I would be praying for wisdom that would then allow me to make the right interpretation of the law. But the law is out there, and that's why I believe that I'm the candidate to choose, because I am relentless in trying to pursue those things in looking for the law. The law is always there most of the time. And if not, of course, we look at the Constitution. That is the basis of it. But I just believe that I would do a very good job in doing that and to serve you in doing that.
Thank you. Jay?
Well, I'm born and raised Roman Catholic, and we attend St. Anthony of Padua Catholic Church, and I have a deep Christian faith also. And I want to protect life from conception until natural death. And that's one of the reasons I believe that I've been endorsed by Texas Right to Life in this campaign. And I appreciate that. And I believe that what the appellate cases, what you do in an appellate case is you review whether the trial court followed the law and followed the Constitution. And if they did that, then you uphold that or affirm that case. If they didn't, you point out what they did wrong and how it was violated. With my 36 years of experience in trying every kind of case that will come in front of this court, I've had over 140 jury trials. I've done over 117 appellate cases in state courts. I've done appeals in federal courts to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I've done appeals to the United States Supreme Court, as a matter of fact. And so I have the experience in every kind of law because I have tried accident cases from both sides, plaintiff and defense. I've tried breach of contract cases from both sides, plaintiff and defense. I've tried criminal cases from prosecution and from defense. I've tried probate cases, every kind of case. And so I think when you have a case that goes to that court, you want somebody who's been there before and done that to review to see if that was done right. And I think I'm the person. Jay Wright for Ninth Court of Appeals. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Now you each have 90 seconds for a closing statement, starting with Jay.
I want to thank my wife, Beverly, who's in the audience here today, because she has been my, I guess, campaign manager and my rock. And she's the mother of our 4 daughters, grandmother to our 1 grandson. And that's what's most important to me after my service to God. Okay, it's God and it's family, and then it's my fellow man. As I said, I was born and raised Catholic, Roman Catholic. I have a deep faith in Jesus Christ, our Savior. And I think that I believe, unlike what the left has been telling us for years, that you cannot have God in the schools. You can't have God in government. They don't want you to have a prayer at a school function or at a government function. That's not true. Our founding fathers prayed before they wrote the Declaration of Independence, and they prayed before they adopted the United States Constitution. The first Congress even appropriated money to print Bibles to send to the Indians, or Native Americans, we call them now. And it wasn't until this past century when the left got people on the Supreme Court and on these appellate courts that they started pulling away our constitutional rights and try to remove God from our schools and from our nation. And God needs to be back in because he's the basis of everything we have. It's Jay Wright for Ninth Court of Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Yes, I really think that I'm the candidate that you need to choose. One of the things I haven't really talked about is the service that I've had for the community. You know, you're asked to vote for someone who is going to now serve you. And in government, if they haven't served you before, you don't really know whether they're capable of serving. I have served on numerous board of directors positions. A lot of them were nonprofits, and I wasn't seeking it. People asked me to do that, and I felt very strongly. There were some I turned down, but I wanted to serve the community. I've also served in an informal capacity for many, many years with attorneys here in this community. I have mentored younger attorneys. I have helped them prepare for trial so that they could understand what points of appeal they may need to bring should they lose the case. I have done that without charging them or anything because I feel like it's important to mentor. I remember years ago, and I had forgotten about this until someone reminded me, I had also helped with Christmas toys for CPS until that got more formalized. And I forgot that there were a group of us that did that. But I'm always looking to serve. And the reason I am is not because I want to serve. It's because God put it in me. It's who I am. I do it automatically because of the spirit that is within inside of me. And so you can be assured that I would serve. I have always prayed over my cases. As I told you before, I would do that again. I can make that promise unabashedly. I would really ask for your support. Stephanie Hall for the Ninth Court of Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our candidates. Next, Mike. County Clerk. Okay, there are two people running for this position. The other person was invited but was unable to come. So we have Brandon Steinman. And I will ask him some questions. What is your background? What in your background qualifies you to be our county clerk?
Sure. My name is Brandon Steinman, and I'm running to be your next county clerk. And I want to thank you for being here today and being involved in the process to hear about my qualifications. I'm a native of Montgomery County. I was born and raised here. I attended Conroe High, and in fact, started the first high school Republicans there at Conroe High. I'm a sixth-generation Texan, and my family has lived around this area for 100 years. The guiding influences in my life are faith, family, and the belief in limited government. And I also want to say on Thursday, I was proud for my efforts on protecting the lives of the unborn to be endorsed by the Texas Right to Life, which I greatly appreciate. My entire adult life has been about public service, working for you. And that's why I'm running for office. Not because I need to be an elected politician, but because I love public service and I love Montgomery County. And I want to see a conservative Republican with experience in this very critical office. So why am I qualified? I've spent the last 27 years working for you and some of our Texas conservative congressmen, Kevin Brady, Joe Barton, Ted Poe. I also spent 7 years working for Governor Rick Perry, and I've also worked for our state's largest airport. I'm the only candidate in this race who's dealt with multi-million-dollar budgets, who've supervised dozens of employees, handled their human resources issues. The only one who's ever created and had approved a records retention policy by the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, which is a very, very important part of this job, maintaining your public records. I've gone through on that $1 million budget and defended it line by line to our state legislature. That was fast.
Okay, thank you. What will you change about the way the office is run?
Well, I have to say that our current incumbent, Mark Turnbull, has done a very good job in the office and laid a great framework for us. I will continue to be fiscally responsible and be a good steward of your tax dollars. We'll continue to look for efficiencies and best practices. I've already reached out to some of our neighboring counties and talked to their county clerks on things that are working and are not working. As we continue to grow, again, this position is critical because with more folks coming into our area, there are more folks that are asking for their documents, their marriage certificates, their death certificates, they're doing business as licenses. But also there's another critical function where as we continue to grow, we provide the court clerks for our county courts at law. So as they continue to grow, we're adding on, you heard earlier from County Court at Law 6, there's a discussion of County Court at Law 7. We'll need to continue to be able to provide them that without asking you for more tax dollars. We bring in about $12 million in receipts from filing applications and from jury awards and other fees that we bring in. We only spend $2.8 million, and we want to continue to be transparent and good stewards of your dollars. I'll also modernize the office. That's another way we can move personnel around as we grow. So we'll put more of the functions online so that you can actually not come into the office and you can conveniently, for our attorneys who are filing cases or folks who are getting their certificates in a secure environment, ask for those online. And again, that'll make us a little more efficient. So again, what I'd like to do, fiscal responsibility, will continue to be transparent. We'll also help our commissioners court with transparency since we're the clerk for the commissioners court. And we'll try to make sure that our doors are always open and the customer service is the best it can be. And part of that, again, will be reworking our COVID barriers so you can actually get up close and personal and feel like you can get your documents and get in and out in the best fashion possible.
Okay, and now you have time for a closing statement.
Sure. Fastest 2 minutes in sports. Thank you again for being here. This is really a critical position. You know, we've had an incumbent in this spot for 28 years. As I said earlier, as we continue to grow, it's even more critical that we've got someone who understands budgets, who will be open and accountable to you, who will be transparent in what they do, and also can be creative and work with our county elected officials to make sure as we get this influx of new folks, that we can modernize the office in ways that we can move our tax dollars around so we don't have to spend more of your money. I have the experience practically over the last 27 years in handling the functions of the office. I also will add that I have the formal experience with my master's of public administration, specializing in urban state affairs management from the University of Texas at Austin. I'm also unique in that I've graduated from the Texas Governor's Executive Development Program and respectively the Texas Fiscal Officers Academy, which both were picked out for key state employees to train us to be the CEO and the CFO of large state agencies like Texas Health and Human Services Commission, which have thousands and thousands of employees and multi-million dollar budgets. So it's one of those times where we need somebody with experience. And I finally want to say I'm a conservative Republican. I've been here my whole life. I was at 8 years old, was inspired by Ronald Reagan to be a member of the Republican Party and what it believed in limited government. Walked door to door on dozens of campaigns here in Montgomery County for donuts. I've been able to work with a lot of our amazing Republican women clubs here. And I just think this is a position where we need someone with experience and someone who also has our Republican and Christian values. So if you'll vote for me, I promise that we'll be fiscally transparent and that we will work hard for you each and every day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Precinct 2, Jennifer Eckhart and Charlie Riley. Welcome. Happy to have you. So Jennifer, you're first. What have you done that qualifies you to be our county commissioner?
Good morning, everybody. I know you look at me and you think, what does she possibly know about road construction? But I can assure you, my business background is in construction and financing. And the last year that I worked before taking time off with kids, I secured $38 million in revenue. And I did that because people trusted me to do the job right and do it very well. Budgets, data, and the construction process is very much my wheelhouse. And I plan to bring those skills and abilities to get Montgomery County going in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Charlie?
First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today. Thank Windsor Hills and Windsor Lakes for coming together to hold this event. I think my qualifications pretty well speak for themselves. I've been working for the county for 21 years. 7 of those years as your county commissioner. When I was elected, I told everybody that I would improve mobility, safety, and quality of life. Passed a $280 million road bond issue. I promised to do certain things on that road bond, and I have completed each and every one of those jobs. For the last 7 years as your county commissioner, tax rate when I came into office was somewhere around 47 cents. It's down to 40 cents right now. So I've reduced taxes on Montgomery County taxpayers by almost 7 cents. Quality of life, the road construction jobs that we've done in and around Precinct 2 keeps people coming home, spending more time at home, less time on the road. I've been involved in community involvement ever since I was 14 years old when I moved out to Magnolia. When I moved to Magnolia, I got involved with FFA, and since then I've been involved in my community ever since. I love Montgomery County. I love what I do, and I want to continue trying to make Montgomery County the best place in the state of Texas to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Charlie, do you plan to make any changes if you are reelected?
As I just said, Diana, I think if it's working the way it's working right now, I don't see we need to make a whole lot of changes. We completed over 2,400 work orders in Precinct 2 alone last year. We had 2,500 something work orders. We completed over 2,400 of those. I don't want people calling and talking to a computer. I don't want people sending their stuff and thinking, did it go through? Did it not go through? Is anybody going to take this thing up and move with it, work with it? I want people talking to our office. I want people talking to us. And I want people to see what we do. When we respond that day or the next day. We call people back. We don't ignore anybody. We take care of business. So if it's working the way it's working right now, I don't see where there's a whole lot of change we need to be making in Precinct 2.
Thank you. Jennifer, what will you change about the way the office is run if you're elected?
Many things. First off, we've had flooding issues that are worsening due to lack of maintenance, planning, and best practices. We're repairing brand new roads that are only 2 years old because they weren't built properly. And I think that's a waste of money personally. I'd like to see better time spending, to cut out the wasteful spending so that we can properly plan for the future. As we continue to grow, we're going to need more law enforcement. We're probably going to need more courts at law to keep the public safe. I would also improve our transparency and communication. I would never put a $20 million project on the consent agenda that hasn't been discussed in open court. I believe that you, the taxpayer, need to understand how your money's being spent, the decisions on your behalf, And so I intend to improve all transparency and communication and probably many other things.
Thank you. And Jennifer, what are your priorities for the future?
To continue on those, the wasteful and ill-time spending, we've got to apply proper business acumen and do our large-scale planning so that we are prepared for the future. Again, our infrastructure it's not up to snuff, so to speak. We have poorly built roads. We have poorly functioning drainage. We have increasing mobility issues. And I think we need improved development standards so that new development is not coming in and flooding older existing neighborhoods. And I also, again, the transparency and communication, I have a lot of ideas to improve those.
Okay, thank you. Charlie, what are your priorities for the future?
My priorities are to continue doing what we've been doing, improve mobility, improve quality of life, work with developers, work with TxDOT, work with everybody that we can work with. We do that right now today. We have a great working relationship with TxDOT. We have a great working relationship with HGAC. We have tremendous working relationship with our cities within our precinct. And it takes all of that working together to make everything, all of the improvements that we need to make. Again, if you haven't been over to Precinct 2 lately, some of the stuff that wasn't there 7 years ago is just amazing to see the progress that we've made with mobility and the progress we've made with our master plan communities that are coming into Precinct 2. That's the type thing we need to continue. Having our developers with our master plan developments that are going up and down, our new infrastructure that we are creating, and the quality of life, it just gets better and better every day.
Okay, thank you. And Charlie, closing statement, and then Jennifer.
Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to appreciate what y'all have done and putting this together. I want to thank all the candidates for showing up, all the supporters. I am asking for your support. I'm asking you to support me so we can continue what we've got going on in Precinct 2, what we've got going on here in Montgomery County. I love Montgomery County. I want to continue working for Montgomery County, and I want to continue supporting, representing each and every one of you. I think that anything can be said up here, but if you sit back and look and see what someone has done with a proven track record, I do have a proven track record. I will do what I say. If I tell you I'm going to do it, I will do it. If I tell you I can't do it, we can't do it. But I will never tell you something that I don't believe in, and I'll never tell you a lie. We will do what we say we can do, and if I can't do it, I'll tell you we can't do it. So I appreciate everybody's support, and thank y'all for being here, and I appreciate every one of them.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Thank you. I just want to ensure everyone, I do have the business background that is perfect for this position. I have a constituent first mentality. I can't tell you how many times I have heard through the campaign of people telling me that they have not gotten the help they've needed. They've been ignored. They were told they were not a priority, that they were down on the list, or that they just couldn't be helped. And I have a different philosophy about representing the will of the people and trying every effort possible to get their needs met. I believe in transparency, accountability, and good communication. No more hiding government business from the voters. We deserve to know how every dollar is being spent and the decisions being made on their behalf. And as a lifelong Texan and Montgomery resident for 22 years, the future of this county is important to me. I don't see things are going well. And that's not what I'm hearing from the constituents out there. My husband and I are raising our family here, and we want our children to be able to afford to stay and enjoy the area. So as your next county commissioner, I will work hard to solve these problems for my children and yours. Please vote for Jennifer Eckhart.
Thank you very much. Judge, County Court at Law number 3. We have 2 candidates, Laura Watson and Amy Tucker. Okay, Laura, you're first. The judge of county, whoops, wait a minute. I put that in the wrong. How long have you practiced law and what types have you practiced? Are you board certified in any areas?
Yes, ma'am. First, good morning and thank you all for being here on such a breezy, windy day. Not sure what happened to our weather, but I'm sure it'll be back tomorrow. With regards to the field of law that I practice, it is solely in family law. I have been practicing now for 18 years, managing and operating my own office right here in Conroe. I am board certified in family law, representing hundreds of people that have come through the court system, as well as serving as the voice for hundreds of children as they have been caught in the litigation process as well. With regards to my experience and background, I feel also my experience having worked in corporate America prior to going to law school, I called it my early midlife crisis. I did that for approximately 12 years, and I believe that has given me the managerial experience to manage not only staff members, but also to understand the importance of fiscal responsibility within budgets. I believe the combination of those things make me the more qualified candidate to be able to manage your tax dollars, as well as to be able to manage this court. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we answering the question? Did you ask if we were board
How
certified?
long have you practiced law and what types have you practiced? Are you board certified in any areas?
Okay. Good morning. I'm Judge Amy Tucker. I'm the judge for County Court at Law 3, and I have been an attorney for 21 years, and I am double board certified in the 2 specialty areas of this court, family law and child protection law. Sorry, actually, it's technically child welfare law. I have a wealth of litigation experience, and I have tried every conceivable type of family law case imaginable. I have litigated CPS cases for 11 years. I did jury trials, contested trials, probably over 5,000 hearings, and I have also worked on at the appellate level. This race is truly about the future of our foster children. CPS is the designated CPS court for the county. That's what we call it. It's actually the foster child court. I'm responsible for all of the foster children in the county. And I believe that they need a home where they have a judge who is an expert and who's passionate. I asked for these cases. Everyone in the courthouse knows I'm the expert in these cases. And I'm just asking you to continue me in this position so that we can really make a difference. Thank you.
Okay. Second question is County Court at Law 3 is a family law court handling all types of family lawsuits, and it is also the appointed CPS court for the county. What best qualifies you to be elected judge of this court? And that would be Amy first.
So I think what best qualifies me first and foremost is I have been doing this job for almost a decade as the judge for this court. First, I was an associate judge, and then I was unanimously appointed to be the judge by the Commissioner's Court on July 1. I have spent my entire 20-year career committed and devoted to the foster children of this county. I am the first judge in the history of this county and one of few, if any, in the state of Texas who has specifically asked for all of the cases involving the foster children. They need an expert, and most importantly, they need a judge who has a clear vision for their future, and I have that. We are well on our way to becoming one of the most qualified child protection courts, not just in the state, but in the country. And at the end of April, my associate judge, who is also extremely qualified for this position, and I will be 2 of only 17 judges in the country that have been trained in the most widely accepted methodology for healing traumatized children. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. With regards to this court being designated as a child welfare court within the family specialization court, I believe that I am qualified in this and that I am the only candidate that has ever gotten out into the field and visited with these children, listened to them, held their hands, hugged them as they're going through the emotional trauma. And this is in both family cases as well as in CPS cases, which I think gives me a very unique insight on being able to understand how the actual case impacts those children. With regards to those kids, I think we will all agree that the children are our first and foremost priority in anything we do, especially in our CPS cases. With regards to that, it is already those cases have gotten to a very tragic situation and a very tragic point requiring government intervention. With regards to that, there are systems and protocols that are in place. I think the primary focus of what we need to do is to be sure that the standards are followed, that the statutes are followed. Right now, I am concerned that we have different rules for different types of cases, which totally violates exactly what we're here for. There are approximately 623,000 constituents within this county, and every one of those people deserve to have a voice and deserve to have access, fairness, and resolution to their cases. With regards to CPS, I think it is imperative to be able to understand the needs of those kids, and you can only do it if you've been out there with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Laura, what changes will you make in the way this court is run if you're elected?
When I am elected, I think the first thing to do is sit down and evaluate what changes need to be done. Obviously, if I'm not in there, I cannot tell you exactly what changes need to happen. However, I am concerned about the drastic increase in budget that has happened within the first 8 weeks of my opponents taking office and being appointed, primarily that being the salary issues. Not to say that those are not well-deserved, but I think it's important that when we are dealing with your taxpayer dollars, we need to be sure that we are spending them in the right place. The other thing that I think is important to understand is before CPS was pulled into County Court at Law number 3 approximately 1 year ago, it was primarily managed and run through both regional and state funds. Those funds are now primarily run through the budget of County Court at Law number 3, which is your taxpayer dollars. I think it is imperative that we determine if this design is the most efficient way and the most productive way of your tax dollars and our time within that court. Because right now this court can only manage 20% of those 623,000 people out there that also need access to this court. So if there is a way to make it run more efficiently and increase the number of cases that we can get through there and get closed, more importantly, bring closure to these families so they can heal, that would be my top priority. We shouldn't have continuances. I'm concerned about the increase in jury requests, almost double digits from 2021 to 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, when you were appointed judge, did you make changes from the way Judge McDonald had been doing things? And or do you plan to make changes if you're elected?
Well, I think since I've been elected, I've actually improved disposition rates in the court, and I actually lowered the budget. My first order of business was to hire an associate judge who I thought was extremely qualified, and I was fortunate enough to do that with Judge Jack Riley, who's been a family law attorney for 27 years and has been board certified as a family law attorney for over 15 years. And my associate judge is actually way more qualified to do this job than any other candidate in the family law cases when it comes down to it. I also have committed our court to taking care of these foster kids. And these cases have been through judge after judge after judge after judge. They need a home. And I spearheaded the efforts to get them into county court at law. And to my knowledge, my opponent has never, not one time, asked to be an attorney for a CPS child. So I don't know how she thinks she has any experience because she's never asked to be involved. I've asked for it. For 20 years, I've asked for it. And I've not only asked for it, but I've educated myself in these cases, and I'm the best person to continue to do this job. And again, give these children a chance to have a happy, healthy life.
Thank you. Now you each will have 90 seconds for a closing statement with Amy going first.
All right, I want to thank you all for being out here this morning. It's great to get out and meet people. I think that, again, this is really a very clear-cut question for this race. And it's what do we feel is best for the future of our foster children and for the future of our child welfare system. I think that I am the most qualified candidate by leaps and bounds, but more importantly, I'm the only candidate that's standing up here and saying, please give me all of these cases. Please let me take care of all of the foster children. I'm devoted and I'm committed. And I'll tell you another thing. Our district attorney, Brett Ligon, has done more to protect children in this county from abuse, neglect, and trafficking than any other district attorney in the state of Texas. And he knows that there's only one person in this county who cares more about these kids than he does, and that's me. And that's why he's endorsing me to continue to actually to be the judge of this court. Everyone knows my passion. Everyone knows my heart. And I rule with integrity and compassion every day. I make thoughtful decisions. And I am also bringing a culture of excellence to our court. Every one of our staff is trained well, and we're devoted to you. We believe in public service, and we're honored to do it every day. Thank you.
Thank you. And Laura?
Thank you. Again, thank you for coming out. It is a beautiful morning, hopefully a beautiful afternoon by the time we leave here. With regards to what I think that is important for you all to know, I have been a resident of Montgomery County for 25 years. I have two children, Colton, who is 17, Reagan, who is 15, and yes, it is spelled correctly. And I've been very proud to be a part of our legal community, not only giving back as an attorney, but also giving back through parts of service, whether it be through volunteering, whether it be serving through civic organizations, or whether it be serving on boards which are standing up and protecting the issues for the children. I am the only candidate that has been doing that, whether it be serving and working with Conroe Noon Lions Club, whether it be serving on the grievance panel through the State Bar of Texas for 6 years, or even being the president of the Montgomery County Bar Association, volunteering with the Montgomery County Food Bank, standing out with kids on the lake who need help through the Lions Club, or more importantly, going out there with the Courthouse Appreciation Barbecue and acknowledging each and every person within this courthouse who has come in there to help and work and make our legal system work. With regards to what I believe this court needs is the people need access, efficiency, and fairness. They need to be able to get into this court when the people need it, not when it's convenient for the court. I am here to offer that. I am Laura Watson, running for judge in County Court Law number 3, and I am asking for your vote.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Judge, County Court at Law number 1, John Halfley and Brian Kane. Thank you for coming, gentlemen. We will start with John. How long have you practiced law and what types have you practiced? Are you board certified in any areas?
All right, thank you. Thank you all for coming out today. So I have been practicing law since 2007. I am not board certified in any field. My name is John Halfley, and I'm running for judge at County Court at Law number 1. I am a Christian first. I am not a conservative Christian. I am a Christian who is a conservative. I am a Christian who is a conservative Republican. I have served for 8 years as a police officer, so I know what it means to uphold the law and swear an oath. I've served as a prosecutor, where I was promoted to chief of a felony court after 1 year of working in the DA's office. I am the owner of my own law firm. It's in downtown Conroe. Oh, by the way, I've also served in the United States Army for 30 years. 8 of those on active duty, the remainder in the Army Reserve. And last year, President Donald Trump, in 2020, President Donald Trump nominated me, and the Senate confirmed me for Brigadier General in the United States Army Reserve. I bring the temperament that is needed in this court. I bring the experience that is needed to be a judge in any court. And I bring the leadership that the United States Army has taught me, one of the greatest militaries in the world, has taught me to be a leader. That's why I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Good morning. My name is Brian Kane. I am running for Judge County Court at Law number 1. That is one of our 3 misdemeanor courts here in this county. I've been practicing since 2009 out of the offices in the law firm that I'm at since 2009 in Conroe. I'm not board certified. So I'm a 4th-generation Texan and a native to the Houston area. I'm an attorney with Griffin and Kane Attorneys at Law, which is a general litigation firm. Like I said, it's in Conroe. I'm a founding partner of that firm. I'm also a husband and father. I live about 9 minutes away in Jacobs Reserve with my wife, Katie, and my 2 children. Abigail is 9 and Eleanor, who's 5. And I wanted to thank y'all for having an event so close to my house and on the way to the swim meet that I'm hoping to get to for my 9-year-old here in a little bit. Now, before law school, I actually pursued a couple different paths, and I'm seeing the time running down very quickly. So I'm probably going to have to get to all of that at the end of this. But let me just say, I started my professional career thinking I was going to be an Episcopal priest. After that, I went and got a master's in history thinking I was going to be a professor. So that's what I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes, about why that journey is important as to the temperament that led me to the law and has led me to make the decision to run for judge, County Court at Law number 1.
Okay, thank you. First question goes to Brian. The judge of County Court Law number 1 hears misdemeanor cases. How much has the number of cases increased in the last 5 years, and what is the backlog?
Actually, the number of cases in County Court Law number 1 has gone down and then back up a little bit here with COVID. It is under 2,000 as of the most recently reported period, which I believe is about 4 months ago. It had hit a high in the 2,300, 2,400 range a number of years ago, but it's come back down. In reality, there's not a backlog that needs a drastic change. What I will say, though, is that I intend to have trials at a rapid pace, because I believe trials is how you get justice done. Not just the trial itself, but just the threat of it. The change I intend to make, the number 1 change I intend to make, is to put what's something called a call docket. It's a little bit lawyerly, but there's a docket right before trial where everybody shows up and says, you're ready to go. And I intend to put that that call docket right before trial as much as I can. I can't put it on Friday. That's when we have jail dockets, but I can put it on Thursday. And people that are on that trial docket, I can tell them, if you want to have a plea, this is your last chance, because Monday I'm going to have a bunch of citizens ready to go. 6 of them are going to get picked and we're going to have a trial. So I don't see this as a crisis, but we are a growing county and those numbers will come back up as we continue to grow. And we need to stay ahead of that. And to stay ahead of that, I intend to make the change I just stated.
Thank you. Same question, John.
Yeah, so we are right at 2,000 cases as a backlog. So, and it's not really a backlog compared to the other county courts at law. It is the lowest. So Dennis Watson, who's been the judge for a very long time, has done a great job of keeping his docket moving. But when you hear 2,000, some people take a gasp. I have commanded 3,500 troops and controlled the entire budget, from troops to equipment to everything that you think about in the Army. So taking on 2,000 cases is not going to be that difficult. Like every good leader, I'm going to assess in the first 90 days after I'm elected. And I want to see where the court needs to go and what it needs to do, if there needs to be any change at all. But Brian's right. This county is growing. It's growing at a rapid pace. These cases are going to continue to increase. So the changes that I'm probably going to utilize, probably going to look at strongly, is we're going to have to go to weekly dockets. The felony courts do weekly dockets to control it, and I think that's going to be a good move. I also, as Brian said, and I've said multiple times at other forums, we're going to have trials. County Court at Law number 1 is going to challenge Judge Santini for the most trials in a year. And that's going to be my mantra. We're going to get there. And why are trials important? Because justice delayed is justice lost. There are real live witnesses out there. There are real live victims out there. There are real live defendants. So that's why we have trials, and that's what I'm going to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
He started.
Okay, I'm sorry. The next question, you both have also kind of answered. What changes will you make in the way this court is run? But John, if you want to.
All right, so yeah, I thought that was the last question. So the changes aren't going to be drastic. The changes are going to be the things that I already said. So, but importantly, let's figure out what it is that a judge has to do in a courtroom. How do you know when to change? What things do you evaluate? I'm going to harken back to what I learned in the Army when I got my master's in strategic studies. which is studying organizational change throughout a large organization. You have to go in and you have to do deep dive assessments on things. You can't just willy-nilly say, it looks like it's moving slow. Let's increase trials by 30%. Or, hey, we got a lot of DWIs. Let's kind of package them into a neat package and push them this way. Now, you got to look at the second and third order effects when you have changes. So for this court and with the disposition rate that it currently has, the changes are what I said. We're going to have weekly dockets. We're going to force both defendants and the state to come in, discuss their cases, try to plea them, try to move them along. But if not, we've got to increase the number of trials so we can move this docket to keep it at the rates it's at, because again, this county is growing and it's growing fast. We are not, unfortunately, a small county anymore. And in the next 10 years, we're going to be a very large county. Thanks.
It was what changes I would make?
Right.
Okay. So to me, when you're asking me what changes are you making, that's what plan are you going to bring to bear? Well, I'm used to, in my background, quoting maybe a founding father, a philosopher. I'm going to go a little outside of that. I'm going to quote Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until you're punched in the mouth. Okay. So in that regard, any job, any new job, especially a public office, it's like stepping into the ring. There's going to be things that come at you. So as far as my plans are to get in there and figure out once I'm in there, what needs to change, to see how the plans that I want to bring to bear how they take hold, and then make the changes I need to make. What I bring to bear on this is that I have someone who studies things extensively. And my experience has taken me all over the state to dozens of courts and well over 15 counties. So I've seen how other courts run their dockets. I know what I don't like. I see how it affects lawyers and how it affects litigants and victims. So I have some ideas, but I don't have set plans. I'm going to get into office, start to implement things, see how they work. And again, my temperament says that when I make the changes, it's going to be because it's the changes that are going to work. And the ones that don't work, I'm going to discard.
Okay, thank you. And a closing statement, starting with Brian.
All right. Again, thank you for having this. It's always such fun to meet people, not just to give speeches, but the meeting beforehand and afterhand is I think the highlight for us on the trail. I wanted to touch on something I didn't get to earlier. I did get a master's in history. I studied the conservative movement. We call it movement conservatism, beginning in about the 20s or 30s in the 20th century. That's my background in conservatism. When I'm interested in something, I study it. So that's my temperament. That's why I'm in law, because I got interested in it along the way. And I went to law school, not just because, well, I want to have a vocation, but because I wanted to know all there is, well, that's impossible, as much as I can know about the law. So when I made the decision to run for office, it's because I've studied what a judge does. Now, I can't live in their shoes. I know that there's administrative duties that are going to hit me like a ton of bricks. I've heard that from a lot of judges. But I have studied what they do. I've studied how they run their dockets. I've studied how they come to the decisions that they do. So that's the temperament that I bring. And it's one of the big reasons I decided to run, is because in studying it, I saw it was a job that I wanted to do. Thank you.
Leadership matters. Experience matters. Temperament matters. When I take over as judge, having 2,000 cases is not going to be an administrative slap in the face. As I said before, I've commanded 3,500 soldiers. You want to talk about administrative minutia? And I've handled it. I handled it so well that I was promoted to general right after I had that position. Leadership matters in this courtroom. Punched in the face. I'm the only candidate who's been punched in the face on the job as a police officer. And guess what? In the end, that cat went to jail. So I've been punched in the face. So I understand the Mike Tyson mentality. I've been shot at, I've been chased, I've been knifed at. And here I am. This won't be a challenge, folks. It's a courtroom. I've got the leadership that matters. I've got the experience that matters as a police officer, as a prosecutor, and owning my own law firm. I've got 30 more seconds. I could talk all day, but here it is, folks. Do you want someone who has a proven track record of leading folks through the most difficult times in their life? Because that's what these alleged criminals are going to have, the most difficult times in their life. Do you want someone who has the experience across a wide spectrum of things within the criminal justice system? If you want those two things and you think they matter, then I'm asking for your vote February 14th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. State Representative, District 15. And we have Maris Blair and Steve Toth. Start with Maris. What qualifies you to serve as our state representative?
Thank you, Diane, and thank you everyone for coming here this morning and spending your Saturday morning with us. What qualifies me to run for state rep? Well, first, I am against big government and higher taxes. And I'm the only one in this race that's against bigger government and higher taxes, which I truly went out and fought every day against incorporation, something that is a very big issue in this community. Another thing is that I want to truly represent the people in the district. And that means getting out there, communicating with people, tapping into the issues, and more importantly, knowing the issues. I am a conservative consensus builder. I am here to work with the people. I am here to work with fellow legislators. And also, I'm here to work with our governor. Might not agree with everything. I have all the issues with the governor, but I am here to work with the governor and not against it. And also, I am a former educator. Education is my life. Education is my passion. And I am an advocate for our public school system. And I want to help improve the system that we have. And lastly, I am a Christian. My Christian values will hold strong in every decision I make. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
I want to thank you all for being here this morning and all the work that you've put into organizing this campaign cycle after campaign cycle, Diane. Appreciate it. I'm Steve Toth. I am a small business owner. I'm a pastor. I'm the chairman of the board of Mighty Oaks. We help veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. But if there's one thing I'll pride myself in, it's being a public servant to you all. Each and every one of you has my cell phone number, 281-770-7287. This past Christmas, while we lost monoclonal antibodies from the federal government, on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, Babette will tell you that I fielded over 50 calls that you all have put through to me. I heard many this morning as we've been cut down to literally 3 monoclonal antibody cases for the entire county. I worked really hard for you to get that monoclonal infusion center set up, and I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to do it. And along the way, I garnered the most conservative score in the state of Texas with the Young Conservatives of Texas, and I was ranked as the 3rd most conservative by the Rice score, which means I in fact worked hard against growing government. I worked hard, tirelessly, at making sure your tax burden was the lowest in the state of Texas, and I'll continue to do that. God bless you.
Okay, thank you. The second question, Steve, why are you running for the position?
I'm thankful that you gave me the opportunity to serve you in the past. We have big things that need to be done in the 88th legislative session. You just heard from the Criminal Court of Appeals that the district attorney's office at the state level, the Office of Attorney General is not allowed to prosecute voter fraud. Does that make you nuts in the state of Texas? And what we've got to do in the next session, and I'd like to do this through a special session, is I would like to make sure that we allow adjacent counties to prosecute voter fraud where it occurs. I worked to uncover voter fraud in 2018, and we saw it in Dallas County. And we made the case to the governor's office and the Secretary of State's office that there was voter fraud. And I want to thank the governor that he came through and under an executive order created an audit in the state of Texas. In just 4 counties, they uncovered 11,000 people that voted that did not have the right to vote. If we do a forensic audit statewide, we're going to cover upwards of 1.2 million people. That's what the data is telling us. We've got to work harder. We've got to secure the border. I appropriated $3 billion this session to do that and to build Trump's wall. I'm going to continue to work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Maris?
All right. Thank you, Diane. Those are issues, and they are very important issues that Steve mentioned. And there's other issues. There are so many issues out there that this district is facing. And that's why I want to come out here and truly represent what we need to have done. We need integrity. I want to bring integrity back to this district. When the people in this district and the people in Austin think of District 15, I want the first thought to be integrity, because we are the best district in Texas, and I want to keep it that way. And there's so many issues out there with property taxes. We still have to work on reforming property taxes and getting some relief. Eliminating them? No. But reforming them, working with them, that's what we got to do, and work with the Lieutenant Governor with his task force to reform some of these property taxes. And again, education. Education is not perfect, and things come up every day that are new in education. I want to work with those issues. Those issues are in my heart, and we can make it safer and a better education system for our students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maris, this goes to you first. When I looked online, I found over a page of committees on which House members serve. If elected, what are your priorities, and to which committees would you like to be assigned?
Great question. There are 39 House committees, 39. So there's a lot of variation. And I think there are some that I can connect with, that I can bring a positive input. One of them is the Public Education Committee. Here I am, a former school teacher. I think I can work with that. And also the higher education. My family's been involved with the higher education system in Texas for many years. I think I could have some positive input. And I am an attorney. I've been an attorney for 18 years. I think my legal experience in my mind can really give some positive input to the Judiciary and Civil Jurisprudence Committee. I think I have something I can bring to the table. And another committee that comes to mind is with the growth that we've had, that we've heard all morning, we have in Montgomery County. There is a committee called the Cultural, Recreation, and Tourism Committee. Sounds fun, but there's a lot of things that can be done and that I can work with this district on. Thank you.
Steve, would you like to address that?
Sure. I represent you on the Appropriations Committee for the state of Texas, Articles 6, 7, and 8, which includes TxDOT. And as a result of that, when 1488 was closed, remember that 2 years ago, it was nailed down to just 2 lanes, one in either direction. I called TxDOT and I said, guys, I want you to restripe the road. And it's going to make the turning lane a little bit smaller while the construction is going on. But for that 3-week period, I want you to restripe the road. Within 2 weeks, we had that road restriped so that it was moving in both directions with 4 lanes. When you all said to me, hey, we need to make sure that we don't develop Jones Forest, there's too much congestion in 1488 and 242. I passed a law with then Senator Brandon Creighton. He carried it in the Senate. I carried it in the House. We got it done for you. When you called me and said 242 is just unmanageable, I worked with Charlie Riley's office. And we made sure that the eastbound lane was increased to 3 lanes, not 2 lanes. And then we put candlesticks down on the southbound feeder road so that the traffic would move along more quickly. I've worked hard for you. I've listened well, and I'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you may each make a closing statement. Steve, you're first.
Thanks so much. I've been responsive to you. I've worked hard for you, and I'm so thankful for each and every one of you that has reached out to me. You said that ending the scourge of critical race theory was really important to you, that the hateful dialogue and teaching was not inculcated into the hearts and minds of our children in our public schools. I worked hard on that legislation. And with Brandon's help in the Texas Senate, we got that legislation passed. Even small things, what you may think is a small thing. Anna Casio called me from Windsor Hills and said, Steve, do you know what one of the things is that helps the Texas agriculture in the state of Texas that's being overlooked? And I said, what is it, Anna? And she said, monarch butterflies. Did you know that? Monarch butterflies are a key piece of the pollination system in Texas, and we're losing them. And so we worked with, again, Senator Brandon Creighton at making a Texas butterfly or monarch butterfly license plate that sends money to preserving the monarch butterflies in the state of Texas. So nothing is too big, nothing is too small. We're here to work, we're here to serve you. And again, my cell phone number is 281-770-7287. I'm a public servant. My staff, we're here to serve you. We're here to help you manage the complicated work that exists within the bureaucracy of state government. God bless you.
Thank you. Maris?
Well, to wrap it up, again, I want to truly represent the people and not just a small interest group, the people. I am against bigger government and I'm against higher taxes. And I will continue to fight for that. And I will continue to fight against incorporation. And again, I'm conservative. There's no one more conservative in this race than me. I am here. My values, my Christian values are going to guide me every day like they do now in decisions for myself, my family, and the community. And again, integrity. I can bring integrity. That's what I bring to the table. So my name is Maris Blair, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next race is Judge, County Court at Law number 4. Okay, happy to have you both here. Starting with Echo, how long have you practiced law and what types have you practiced? Are you board certified in any areas?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. My name is Echo Hudson. I have been practicing law since 2008. I have been practicing since 2009 here in Montgomery County. I started under District Attorney Brett Ligon in 2009, right after he was elected, and I started prosecuting then. I worked in the District Attorney's office. I was promoted up, and then in 2011, I had the opportunity to write a grant as part of the District Attorney's office for a specialized domestic violence prosecutor position. I wrote that grant. I then worked as the first specialized prosecutor in the county for 2.5 years. And what we did is we started a specialized domestic violence docket in the county courts at law. I then have also worked as a defense attorney. I've done civil, I've done even probate, I've done family law, I've done criminal defense. But my specialty really is in prosecution. In 2016, Brett asked me to come back to the district attorney's office, where I then began again in domestic violence. I've worked as the chief prosecutor of the domestic violence division now for the majority of that court's 10-year existence. So I am running for county court at law number 4. And the reason why all that domestic violence is important is that is the specialized domestic violence court. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Gary Miller. I'm also running county court at law number 4. The answer to the question is yes, I am board certified. I am board certified in criminal law. I have been licensed in Texas since 2005. I began my career as a prosecutor. It was in Harris County. I was there a little less than 3 years. At that point, I went out on my own. I've been in private practice ever since roughly November of 2008. I represent people pretty much on a daily basis. When things go wrong and they're pretty much having the worst day of their life is when I get calls. I've done that for many years. I've practiced in over 10 different counties. I've seen what works, what doesn't. I have done every criminal case there is. I have been the lead trial attorney on capital murders. I have been the lead trial attorneys on speeding tickets. I have done it all. I'm the only one that is board certified in this race. Board certified, you've heard it a lot today. It basically means you need a minimum set of qualifications. Once you meet those qualifications, then you have to go and take an exam. The exam is roughly 4 hours, and then you have to pass that exam, obviously. And that's how you become board certified, which I am in criminal law. Thank you.
Thank you. County Court at Law number 4 is a misdemeanor court and also the domestic violence court. How much has the number of cases increased in the last 5 years, and what is the backlog?
The case load has gone up a little bit in the last, roughly year. Criminal courts, they kind of work in a certain cycle, right? People get in trouble, they get arrested, they come to court a few times. District Attorney's Office offers them a plea bargain. Defense attorneys obviously are trying to get cases dismissed, have the charges dropped. Eventually, if no resolution is reached, the cases go to a jury trial. The way dockets are actually controlled is you start putting pressure on people that you are going to go to trial if you don't figure out your case. All right. Montgomery County traditionally has not been a nice place to defendants that want to go and have a jury trial. Things don't normally work out for them. And so it puts pressure on everyone. All right. The DA's office has to get their evidence together, make sure their witnesses are together, witnesses are available, and the evidence is available. And on the defense side, you got to put pressure on people. If you don't want to try to resolve cases, you won't. So you have to go to trial. It's been mentioned that the way to do this is to do docket control orders, go to trial. That's what you have to do. And you have to be consistent every day or you will make no impact on the cases in the court. I think right now it's hovering around 1,600 active cases. You've got to put pressure on the lawyers. You've got to do stuff or they will just keep rescheduling forever.
Echo?
Can you repeat the question? I want to make sure I'm answering it.
County Court Law number 4 is a misdemeanor court and also the domestic violence court. How much has the number of cases increased in the last 5 years and what is the backlog?
Okay, so I think that County Court 4 is like some of the other courts. I think it's a little bit better off with a case backlog, but we have all struggled with all of the Office of Court Administration orders that came down during 2020, moving into 2021, limiting our ability to come to court, to have in-person dockets. It was really a struggle. And my division, the Domestic Violence Division at the DA's office, we're one of those divisions that did not shut down. In fact, we ramped up when COVID happened. We started working 24/7, and part of our policies and procedures in that division is to reach out to every domestic violence victim within 24 to 72 hours of a domestic violence call coming in. So what I had to do is mobilize my team and figure out how to work past all of those lockdown orders in order to keep functioning at the same level. We have a very high conviction rate. We have a very low case turnaround in that court, and there is a reason for that. We have implemented a lot of docket control. Most of our misdemeanor cases in the domestic violence court are less than 6 months old. I've worked under numerous judges. I've been the chief of all 5 county courts at law, so I do know how to run a docket to keep that backlog down. That is one of my absolute priorities, and I'm very good at it.
Thank you. And Echo, the next question, what changes will you make in the way this court is run?
So County Court at Law number 4, Judge Mary Ann Turner has been the judge on that bench. She is the first judge elected since the position was created. She's been there for 20 years. She's done a really excellent job. So I have really no critiques of her. For changes, I think it comes down to my experience in Montgomery County, where I am experienced. This has been my home. This is what I do. I am intimately familiar with all 5 county courts at law and how they have run their dockets. I'm also intimately familiar with all of the felony courts. I run a felony docket and I run a misdemeanor docket right now in County Court at Law number 4. So I am familiar with that. And what I want to do is I want to take that experience and I want to apply it to Court 4. I've seen scheduling orders from the 221st. Lisa Mychalk does a wonderful job. Judge Phil Grant in the 9th. And I have worked those from the prosecution side where we take every case on the docket, and that is our responsibility to evaluate it, to move it, to get the evidence, to be prepared for trial, to work with the victims. And so I have done that from the prosecution side for the majority of my career. I am very, very good at understanding how these courts work, what is needed. In particular, the Domestic Violence Division has very specific developmental policies and protocols where the courts have worked with the DA's office, they have worked with law enforcement, and a multidisciplinary team capacity. What we have developed is so specialized, and I am the only one who knows how that works.
Thank you. Gary?
This court, it's been run efficiently. That is for sure. There's no way to criticize the caseload or how long cases languish on the docket. That's true. Okay. I think that those things should continue. The domestic violence caseload being in that court, that's a good idea. In fact, I think other counties probably should adopt that same thing and study what Montgomery County has done there. That's an excellent program and it should continue. There is no reason that program should stop. It is a good program for all sides involved in domestic violence. So it's hard to say, hey, I'm going to change this or cancel that. You've got to get in there. There's only so many ways you can do from looking from the outside. You can just look at the data, experience being in the court. You've got to get in there, figure out what you need to do. I think all the things that are going well in that court need to continue and look what you can improve and kind of go from there.
Thank you. Now you may each make a closing statement with Gary going first.
Thank you everyone for sticking with us. It's almost noon now. I am the only one board certified in this race. I have been a lawyer since 2005. I've lived in the Woodlands since 2009. I'm married. I have 2 daughters. They're both teenagers. We live about 6 minutes away from here. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you for being here. And thank you for supporting all the different candidates here. Thank you.
So I'm only running for office because this particular court has become an open bench. This court is incredible. It has the highest conviction rate in the county, in the state of Texas, and this court has been studied over the 10 years of its existence. And what we have done in this court with its specialized docket and its high conviction rate and moving cases quickly through the system is an example to our nation. It has also been studied in comparison to other countries. And this court is an example. What I have done from the prosecution side, working with the judge in this court, has been to create something that is absolutely phenomenal. Why I am running for this court is because I know it inside and out. I don't have to wait until I am elected to office to make this court better. I am already doing that every time I walk into that docket from the prosecution side. I understand the defense side. I am fair. I am balanced. I know that I have exactly what it takes to run this court. So I ask for your vote. I look forward to speaking with you. You can go to my website, www.electecho.com. You can look up my qualifications. I am qualified to be board certified, but I have been on call 24/7 for 2.5 years for all law enforcement and just haven't sat to take the exam. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congressional District 2. So obviously we have a new congressman who is Dan Crenshaw. He could not be here today and he doesn't have candidates speak about what he will do or is doing. But he asked if he could send somewhere. Why don't John? So we're going to let him speak for.
Good morning.
Rather than ask questions, just he's going to make a statement.
Good morning, everybody. Unfortunately, the congressman could not be here today because of a scheduling conflict, but we are very excited to be out and about in the district and meeting with voters. We're going to be announcing a couple different events in Montgomery County, opportunities to meet the congressman and to interact with him. I am happy to announce right now that we're going to be doing the grand opening for our Montgomery County campaign headquarters on January 22nd, 1 to 2:30 at 2829 Technology Forest Boulevard, Suite 280. And I have cards in the back with the information for that. We'll also be doing a meet and greet in Harris County and Atascocita at Tin Roof Barbecue on January 25th from 6 to 7:30. So we do hope to see everyone out there and look forward to meeting with every one of you guys here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John McCarthy. I'd also like to say that we hate to see Kevin Brady go, both as our congressman and he's retiring. Known him a number of years and he's just been a great, I'm getting choked up. He's been a great guy. So, but we have here today, there are 3 people running, or 4 people running, but Jameson Ellis and Martin, let me see how, Atwap are here today. And thank you for coming. I'm going to, they're seated in the order they are on the ballot. And I would ask first, Jameson, what have you done to prepare yourself to be our U.S. Congressman?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I appreciate you inviting us to be here. Appreciate all of you for coming out. This is kind of a loaded question because I'm a political outsider. I'm not somebody who's been grooming myself for years to do this. I started this journey back in 2020, and May 25th is significant for 2 reasons. 1, it's my birthday, but 2, May 25th, 2020 was the day the George Floyd incident happened. And over the next 60 days, we saw over 500 declared riots and over 2,000 law enforcement officers injured in the line of duty. For the past several years, I've been helping to try to bridge the gap between law enforcement and community. I help run a nonprofit called Bridge the Blue. So whenever this happened, we were doing what we call a Blue Crew Live. And I felt like God told me that what's been going on with BLM, Antifa, and within law enforcement is a symptom of a much deeper issue. So I felt like in that moment, I needed to do more. And what I heard in my heart was Congress. A couple weeks after that, I had a lady reach out to me on Facebook from Wichita Falls, didn't know who she was. She didn't know me. She actually met me through Bridge the Blue, or heard about me through Bridge the Blue. She said she was praying and she saw me in Congress and believed that God was calling me to that. What she didn't know was that I had already been praying about that, thinking about it, hadn't told anybody. So with that being said, I got about 10 seconds left. I'm going to say this. I fully expect Democrats to act and vote like Democrats. They're not the problem. The problem is when you have Republicans like Dan Crenshaw who are acting and voting like Democrats.
Thank you. Martin?
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today. I am the American dream. I came here as a missionary almost 16 years now. And it's been a blessing. And what's prepared me to be here today to represent you in Congress? That's a big question. Oh, my name is Martin Atwap, and I'm a dad of 3 kids now. I was up with my 6-month-old this morning at 5 a.m. and then he got up and watched soccer with me. But, you know, it's working at a company. I work for Tesla. Flying overhead cranes, like inside the factory, and working about 12 to 14 hours a day. Then you leave, then go out to law school. First year of law school is the toughest year in school. So I'd drive this overhead crane and then go to school. You have to learn to concentrate and focus on what's important. And being able to balance all this craziness of life, that's preparation for Congress. That's preparation to represent you, because it gives you the ability to just stay focused and stay like-minded, stay on focus. That's what it is.
Thank you. What would you change about the way our district, which is a new one, is being handled? And you're first, Martin.
Thank you very much. Montgomery County is the most conservative county in America, they say. And of course, now we merged half of Montgomery County and a piece of Harris County is part of our district now. And as your congressman, I will uphold our conservativeness. You know, that's what identifies us as Americans. Ability to stay with one another and to keep on our faith with God. And so what am I going to do about that? I am going to, like I said, I'm a missionary. I'm going to connect with one-on-one with each one of you. I'm going to try to come to you and ask you, so what can we do together? Which we haven't done that in a while. Coming to sit down and say, what does America need? We have critical race theory that's been destroying us. And as a Black man, I would say this: critical race theory is hate disguised as education. And I would not allow that in our district. And I promise you that I'll stand against such kind of division in District 2. That's my promise to you. Thank you.
Would you mind reading the question just one more time?
What would you change about the way our district is being handled?
So that's pretty easy. I would actually have a conservative voting record and represent you the way that you deserve to be represented. I believe it's time for Congressional District 2 to finally have constitutional conservative, an original intent constitutional conservative, a pro-liberty patriot, a pro-liberty Republican to represent it. I no longer believe that Dan Crenshaw reflects my Texas first values. I want to go back just really quick. 435 voting members of the House. Does anybody in here know how many of those actually have conservative voting records? Less than 40. Here in Texas, we say keep Texas red. Historically, we had 36 districts. We now have 38. We just added 2. Anybody in here know how many districts here in Texas actually have true conservative representation? Less than 13. So again, I go back to the problem. Everybody wants to blame Democrats for the problem, and Democrats aren't the problem. They've always acted and voted the way that they act and vote. It's Republicans that are not acting and voting like Republicans. And we've had that kind of representation here in Congressional District 2. And so what I'm going to change about the district is I'm going to actually go and vote with conservative values, never vote against the Constitution, never vote to fund a federal vax database, never vote for red flag laws or to send women to the draft.
Thank you. We start with Jameson. In what areas do your priorities lie? To which committees would you like to be assigned?
So I've been asked this question on numerous occasions, my priorities, the greatest threat to our national defense. So my priority is the apathy that is in this country. Most people don't vote. Even less people vote in primaries, and even less people vote in midterms. Does anybody in here know how many volunteers it takes to run the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo every year? 30,000. You know how many volunteers the Trump campaign had in the greater Houston area in 2020? Less than 1,500. We're losing our country because as Americans, we're too comfortable. So here's my priorities going to DC. My priorities are to go there, first and foremost, look every single Republican in the eye that's not acting and voting like a Republican and ask them what it feels like to be a traitor to the districts that elected them as conservatives. Second thing, I'm not necessarily going to write new legislation. The government's already big enough, but the legislation I do write will be repealing the bad legislation. And I'm also going there to vote down the bad legislation. Third thing, really quick, I got 4 seconds, as I'm coming back to the district to hold workshops to expose exactly what goes on behind the curtain.
Thank you. Martin?
We need fiscal responsibility in America. You know, in my house, I'm expected to follow a budget. I'm expected to pay off my debts and live within my means. But in Congress, you can increase the debt limit as much as you want because you don't really care, because it won't affect you. Congress does not realize that by borrowing money from China, we're mortgaging my 6-month-old future, because you and I are not going to pay for our stupidity. It's my kid. And so I am going to, number one, advocate for and sign on if I have to, or draft a balanced budget amendment. And as an immigrant, I am going to advocate for our federal government, the president and the attorney general. I'm gonna take away a lot of the leeway we give him to manage immigration and tell him, you need to get back to work and only follow the rules that we've written for you as Congress. Because we can't keep doing this. America cannot keep bringing in anybody whenever they want to.
Thank you. So now you will each be able to make a closing statement, with Martin going first.
Thank you again. My name is Martin Etwap. I came to America 15 years ago, almost 16 years. And I have a wife and 3 beautiful children. I adore those kids. And there's no better place for me to raise them than in Montgomery County, than across 242 and 45 in Harper's Preserve. I love being here with these kids. And coming from Uganda, where socialism destroyed everything, where you are told who to vote for. I mean, it's called vote wisely. If you don't vote wisely, you disappear the next day. And today we find people advocating for socialism in America. You know, I rarely swear, but I'll say over my dead body. I mean, I'll stand because I can't go back to where I came from. You know, when I first came here, you know the Statue of Liberty holding the torch? It's shining hope. It's the city on a hill. Everyone in the world looks at that statue and knows it's liberty. And today we're giving up that liberty to socialism. I cannot, I will not, I dare not afford to let that happen. So that's why I'm running for this office, to protect our liberties. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jameson.
So as I stated in the very beginning, I'm a political outsider. I am someone who has felt very disenfranchised by a party that's supposed to be pro-liberty and less government. In 2008, they give us John McCain. And in 2012, they give us Mitt Romney, screwing over Ron Paul, who should have gotten the nomination in 2011. Felt like my vote didn't count. So when I talk about apathy, I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you. I'm not too ashamed to tell you I've only voted 3 times actually I voted 4 times in my life. 3 times though is when my vote counted. I voted in 2020, my vote didn't count. I have the letter to prove it. Why? Feeling disenfranchised. We literally have a system that is set up against us. The system is set up to protect the establishment. They don't teach us what we need to be taught in schools. Most people, they don't even vote in primaries. Why is that? Most people don't even know what primaries are. They're too concerned about splitting the vote. You literally can't split the vote in a primary whenever you're worried about a Republican candidate going up against a Democrat. They don't understand primaries. The system is set up against us. I understand what that's like. It took Trump red-pilling me to re-engage me into the political realm. And I wonder how many of you are in the same boat that I am. I wonder how many more people out there are in the same boat that I am. I want to invite you to go to jamesonellis.com, meet with me one-on-one, and we'll restore liberty, refund the police, make America America again, and fire Dan Crenshaw from DC.
Thank you very much. I knew most of the candidates before I got here today. I met some new ones. but I would have to say this has been a pleasure. It's been inspirational. I'm just really happy we did this, and I'm happy you're here. And I appreciate your being here. I wish we had more time. Thank you to the candidates for giving us their time. Residents, please don't forget to take any signs or literature you want. Candidates, please take your extra signs and materials. Thank you to Mike Miller and Windsor Hills for hosting us today. I am hoping that this is the first of many future events. And if the candidates want to stick around to see if there are residents here who have questions they want to ask them that I didn't have time to ask or didn't ask, please feel free to stay around. Of course, candidates, you don't have to, it's up to you. So thank you again.